You always hear the warnings, but you never think they're meant for you. Don't watch cursed videos at 3 a.m. Don't click strange links. Don't go looking for things you're not supposed to find. It's the kind of advice that floats around the internet, half joke, half urban legend, a dare for the bored and the reckless. I used to laugh at those stories. I thought I was smarter than that. I thought I was in control. But that was before the night I watched a video that was never meant to be seen, and before everything in my life started to unravel. It started with a message. Not from a friend, not from a stranger, but from an account I didn't recognize. No profile picture, no subscribers, just a string of random numbers and letters. The message was simple: you like weird videos, right? Watch this at 3 a.m. if you dare. There was a link, short and cryptic, and nothing else. I should have ignored it. I should have deleted it and gone to bed. But curiosity is a powerful thing, especially when you're alone, especially when the world outside is silent and the only light in your room is the blue glow of your screen. I clicked the link. It took me to a YouTube page I'd never seen before. The title was just a string of symbols, unreadable, and the thumbnail was a blurry, distorted face. The view count was 0. The upload date was blank. The comments were turned off. I hovered over the play button, my finger trembling, and for a moment, I thought about closing the tab. But the clock on my desktop read 2:59 a.m. I waited, watching the seconds tick by, until it turned to 3 o'clock. Then I pressed play. The video started with static, gray and white noise, the kind that makes your skin crawl. Then, slowly, an image began to form. It was a room, dimly lit, with peeling wallpaper and a single chair in the center. The camera was shaky, as if someone was holding it with trembling hands. There was no sound except for the hum of the static, no movement except for the slow, almost imperceptible sway of the camera. I leaned closer, trying to make out the details, but the image kept flickering, distorting, as if the video itself was fighting to stay hidden. Then, a figure appeared. At first, it was just a shadow in the corner, barely visible. But as the camera panned, the figure stepped into the light. It was a man, or at least, it looked like a man. His face was blurred, his features shifting and impossible to focus on. He sat in the chair, staring directly into the camera, and for a long moment, nothing happened. I felt my heart pounding in my chest, my breath shallow and quick. I tried to pause the video, but the controls wouldn't respond. The timer at the bottom of the screen was frozen at midnight. The man began to speak, but his voice was distorted, layered with static and echoes. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was pleading, desperate, as if he was trying to warn me. The screen flickered, and for a split second, I saw something behind him, a shape, tall and thin, with eyes that glowed in the darkness. The man's head snapped around, his mouth open in a silent scream, and the video cut to black. I stared at the screen, waiting for something else to happen. The timer was still at midnight. The play button was gone. The only thing on the screen was a single line of text: "You shouldn't have watched this." My hands were shaking. I tried to refresh the page, but the video was gone. The link was dead. My browser crashed, and when I reopened it, my history was wiped clean. I told myself it was just a prank, just a creepy video designed to mess with people. But as I sat there in the dark, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The room felt colder, the shadows deeper. I checked the time, 3:07 a.m. I closed my laptop and went to bed, but I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the man's face, blurred and shifting, his mouth open in that silent scream. The next morning, I tried to forget about it. I went through my day in a fog, distracted and uneasy. My phone buzzed with notifications, but every time I checked, there was nothing there. No new messages, no missed calls, just the same empty screen. I tried to find the video again, searching every keyword I could think of, but it was gone. It was as if it had never existed. That night, as I lay in bed, I heard a noise from the living room, a soft, rhythmic tapping, like someone knocking on the window. I told myself it was just the wind, just my imagination. But the tapping continued, steady and insistent, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. I got up, heart pounding, and crept to the window. There was nothing there. Just the empty street, the silent night, and my own reflection staring back at me. I tried to laugh it off, to tell myself I was just spooked by a video and a sleepless night. But the feeling of being watched clung to me, a weight pressing down on my chest. I double-checked the locks, drew the curtains tight, and crawled back into bed. But sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that flickering room, the man's shifting face, the shadow behind him. I kept replaying the video in my mind, searching for details I might have missed, clues that would prove it was just a trick, just a story. The next day, things got stranger. My phone started acting up, random glitches, apps crashing, the screen flickering with static. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, maybe a software update gone wrong. But then I noticed something else. Every time I unlocked my phone, the wallpaper had changed. It was always the same image, a blurry, low-res still of a chair in a dimly lit room. The same chair from the video. I tried to change it back, but the image would reappear within minutes. I reset my phone, wiped the memory, even switched SIM cards. Nothing worked. The chair always came back. I started to feel like I was losing my mind. I called a friend, Sam, the kind of person who never believed in anything supernatural, who always had a rational explanation for everything. I told him about the video, about the glitches, about the chair. He laughed. "Dude, you probably just picked up some malware. Send me the link, I'll check it out." I hesitated, but the link was gone. It disappeared. I can't find it anywhere. Sam was quiet for a moment. "All right, well, bring your phone over tomorrow. I'll take a look. And try to get some sleep, man. You sound wrecked." That night, I tried to distract myself with TV, but every show seemed to blur together, the faces on the screen flickering and shifting like the man in the video. I kept glancing at the clock, watching the minutes crawl toward 3 a.m. I told myself I wouldn't check, that I'd just go to bed and let it pass. But as the hour approached, the air in my apartment grew heavy, the silence pressing in from all sides. At exactly 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. No caller ID, just a blank screen. I let it ring, refusing to answer. It rang again. And again. On the third ring, I picked up, more out of anger than fear. I didn't say anything. For a moment, there was only static. Then, a voice, distorted, layered with echoes, just like in the video. "You watched it. Now you see." I hung up, my hands shaking. The phone buzzed again, this time with a text. Just one word, regret. I turned off my phone, pulled the battery, and threw it across the room. I sat in the dark, listening to my own breathing, waiting for something, anything, to happen. But the night passed in silence. The next morning, I went to see Sam. He took my phone apart, ran every scan he could think of, but found nothing. "It's clean," he said, frowning. "No viruses, no spyware. But your wallpaper's still stuck, huh?" I borrowed an old phone from him, set it up, and tried to move on. But the feeling of being watched never left. Every time I passed a mirror, I caught a glimpse of something behind me, a shadow, tall and thin, just out of sight. I started avoiding mirrors, covering them with towels, turning them to face the wall. That night, I dreamed of the chair. I was sitting in it, the room around me flickering with static. The man from the video stood in the corner, his face a blur, his mouth moving in silent warning. The shadow loomed behind him, its eyes glowing in the darkness. I tried to get up, but I couldn't move. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. The clock read 3:17 a.m. My borrowed phone was on the nightstand, the screen lit up with a new wallpaper, the chair, again, but this time, there was a figure sitting in it. I stared at the phone, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The image was unmistakable, the same chair, the same dim room, but now my own face stared back at me, pale and terrified, eyes wide with the kind of fear you only feel in nightmares. I fumbled to unlock the phone, desperate to delete the picture, but the screen froze, the image burned into the display. I yanked the battery out, hands shaking, and threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall with a dull thud and slid to the floor, the screen finally going dark. I sat on the edge of my bed, trying to steady my breathing. I told myself it was just a dream, that I must have taken the photo in my sleep, that there was a rational explanation. But deep down, I knew better. I could still feel the weight of the chair beneath me, the cold air of that flickering room, the eyes of the shadow watching from the corner. I didn't go back to sleep. I spent the rest of the night pacing my apartment, checking the locks, peeking through the blinds at the empty street below. Every sound made me jump, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the floorboards, the distant wail of a siren. I kept expecting to see the man from the video standing in the shadows, his face shifting and blurred, his mouth open in that silent scream. When the sun finally rose, I felt no relief. The world outside looked the same, but everything felt wrong, as if I'd slipped into a version of reality that was just slightly off. I tried to go about my day, but nothing felt normal. People on the street seemed to move in slow motion, their faces blank and unreadable. Every screen I passed, TVs in shop windows, digital billboards, even the ATM at the corner, seemed to flicker with static, just for a moment, as if the video was bleeding into the real world. I called Sam again, desperate for someone to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. He answered on the first ring, his voice groggy. "You okay, man? You sound awful." I told him about the dream, about the photo, about the way the image kept coming back no matter what I did. He was quiet for a long time. "Look, maybe you should talk to someone. Like, a professional. This sounds like it's really messing with you." I almost laughed. "You think a therapist is going to believe I'm being haunted by a YouTube video?" He sighed. "I don't know. But you can't keep going like this. Come over tonight. We'll figure something out." I agreed, grateful for the offer, but as the day wore on, the dread only grew. I kept seeing flashes of the chair in every reflective surface, shop windows, puddles on the sidewalk, even the stainless steel of the elevator doors in my building. Each time, the image was clearer, sharper, as if it was getting closer. That evening, I packed a bag and headed to Sam's place. The city felt different, the air heavy and electric, the sky bruised with the promise of rain. I kept my head down, moving quickly, avoiding eye contact with everyone I passed. When I reached Sam's apartment, he buzzed me in without a word. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Sam had pulled the curtains shut, turned off every screen, and lit a few candles, as if he was trying to ward off something he couldn't see. We sat in the living room, talking in low voices, both of us glancing nervously at the darkened TV. "Did you ever find the video again?" he asked. I shook my head. "It's like it never existed. But I can't get it out of my head. It's like it's following me." Sam nodded, his expression grim. "Maybe it is. Maybe you're not supposed to forget." We sat in silence, the only sound the rain tapping against the windows. I felt the weight of the chair pressing down on me, the memory of the man's blurred face, the shadow in the corner. I wondered if I would ever feel normal again. That night, I slept on Sam's couch, the flicker of candlelight casting strange shadows on the walls. I dreamed of the video, of the chair, of the shadow moving closer and closer, its eyes burning in the darkness. When I woke, the candles had burned out, and the room was filled with the cold, blue light of dawn. I woke to the sound of Sam making coffee in the kitchen, the rich aroma cutting through the chill that seemed to have settled in the apartment overnight. For a moment, I let myself believe that everything was normal, that the nightmare was over. But as I sat up, I saw my bag on the floor, my phone lying next to it, the screen dark. I hesitated, then picked it up, half expecting to see the chair again. The phone powered on with a jolt, the screen flickering before settling on the same image, me, in the chair, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream. I dropped the phone, my hands shaking. Sam walked in, 2 mugs in hand. He saw my face and set the coffee down, concern etched in every line. "It's still happening, isn't it?" I nodded, unable to speak. He sat beside me, his presence grounding, but I could see the fear in his eyes too. "We need to do something," he said quietly. "Maybe it's not just a video. Maybe it's something else. Something that wants to be seen." We spent the morning searching online, digging through forums, message boards, even the dark web. We found stories, dozens of them, about a video that appeared and disappeared, about people who watched it and were never the same. Some said it was a ritual, a curse, a digital ghost that latched onto anyone who saw it. Others claimed it was an experiment, a test run by some shadowy group. But the details were always the same: the chair, the man with the blurred face, the shadow in the corner, the feeling of being watched. One post stood out. It was from a user called Nightwatcher, dated just a few weeks before. The message was short, frantic: "If you see the chair, don't sit. If you hear the voice, don't answer. If you feel the shadow, don't look back. It wants you to remember." Sam read it aloud, his voice barely above a whisper. "What does that mean?" I shook my head. "I don't know. But I think it's too late for me." We tried everything: clearing caches, factory resets, even smashing the phone with a hammer. But every time I picked up a new device, the image would reappear. It was as if the video had burned itself into my memory, into my very sense of reality. That afternoon, Sam suggested we get out of the apartment, get some fresh air, try to break the cycle. We walked through the city, the sky heavy with clouds, the air thick with the promise of rain. I tried to focus on the world around me, the sound of traffic, the chatter of people, the smell of wet pavement. But everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of the video. A chair in a shop window, a flicker of static on a passing TV, a shadow that seemed to follow just out of sight. We ended up at a small park, the grass damp beneath our feet. Sam sat on a bench, watching me with worried eyes. "You need to let it go," he said. "Whatever it is, it feeds on your fear. If you stop giving it power, maybe it'll stop." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that I could just walk away, forget what I'd seen, and go back to my old life. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. The video had changed something in me, opened a door I couldn't close. That night, back at Sam's place, I tried to sleep, but the dreams returned, more vivid, more real than ever. I was back in the chair, the room flickering with static, the man with the blurred face standing over me. The shadow moved closer, its eyes burning with hunger. I tried to scream, but my voice was gone. I woke up gasping, the taste of fear sharp on my tongue. The clock read 3:03 a.m. My phone was on the nightstand, the screen glowing with a new message, "It's almost time." I stared at the message, my mind racing. "It's almost time." The words pulsed on the screen, as if they were alive, as if they were waiting for me to respond. I wanted to throw the phone out the window, to smash it to pieces, but I knew it wouldn't matter. The image, the message, the feeling, they were inside me now, woven into my thoughts, my dreams, my every waking moment. Sam was still asleep on the couch, his breathing slow and steady. I didn't want to wake him, didn't want to drag him any deeper into whatever this was. I slipped out of the apartment and into the night, the city silent and empty, the rain falling in sheets. I walked for hours, trying to outrun the fear, the memory of the video, the sense that something was following me. Everywhere I went, I saw signs: the chair in a darkened alley, a flicker of static in a shop window, a shadow that seemed to move just out of the corner of my eye. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, that I was sleep-deprived, paranoid, losing my grip. But the feeling only grew stronger, more insistent, as if the city itself was closing in around me. I ended up at an all-night diner, the kind of place where the lights are always too bright and the coffee is always too bitter. I sat in a booth by the window, watching the rain streak down the glass, my phone lying face down on the table. I tried to focus on the mundane, the clatter of dishes, the low hum of conversation, the smell of burnt toast. But even here, I couldn't escape the sense of being watched. A waitress came by, her eyes tired but kind. "You okay, hon? You look like you've seen a ghost." I almost laughed. Something like that. She poured me a cup of coffee, her hand steady. "Whatever it is, it'll pass. Everything does, eventually." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that this was just a phase, a bad dream I'd wake up from. But as I sipped the coffee, my phone buzzed again. I flipped it over, dreading what I'd see. A new image. The chair, the room, the shadow. But this time, the man with the blurred face was gone. In his place was me, sitting in the chair, the shadow's hand resting on my shoulder. My face was turned toward the camera, my eyes wide with terror. I dropped the phone, my hands shaking. The waitress noticed, her brow furrowing. "You sure you're all right?" I nodded, forcing a smile. "Just tired. Long night." She left me alone, and I sat there, staring at the phone, the image burned into my mind. I knew I couldn't run from this. I knew I couldn't hide. Whatever the video was, whatever it wanted, it was coming for me. I left the diner as the sky began to lighten, the rain easing to a drizzle. I walked back to Sam's apartment, my clothes soaked, my body numb. He was waiting for me, worry etched deep into his face. "Where did you go?" he asked. I shook my head. I just needed to get out. Clear my head. He didn't press. He just handed me a towel and made me sit down, his presence a small comfort in the growing storm. We spent the day in silence, both of us too tired to talk, too afraid to sleep. I kept checking my phone, waiting for the next message, the next image, the next sign that the video was still with me. That night, as the clock crept toward 3 a.m., I felt the fear building, a pressure in my chest, a whisper in my ear. I knew something was coming. I knew it was almost time. I couldn't sit still. Every muscle in my body was tense, my mind racing with possibilities, none of them good. Sam tried to distract me. He put on music, made tea, even suggested we play cards like we used to in college. But nothing could drown out the ticking of the clock, the slow, relentless approach of 3 a.m. I kept glancing at my phone, half hoping, half dreading another message. The screen stayed dark, but I could feel it watching me, waiting. At 2:45, the apartment grew cold. Not just chilly, but bone-deep, as if the warmth had been sucked out of the air. The lights flickered, the shadows in the corners stretching and twisting. Sam noticed it too. He wrapped a blanket around his shoulders, his eyes darting to the windows. "Did you turn the heat off?" he asked, his voice thin. I shook my head. "It's not the heat." We sat in silence, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator and the distant rumble of thunder. I tried to steady my breathing, to remind myself that I was safe, that I was not alone. But the fear was a living thing, coiling tighter with every passing minute. At 2:59, my phone buzzed. I jumped, my heart leaping into my throat. The screen lit up with a new message, "Ready?" I stared at it, my hands trembling. Sam leaned over, reading the message. "Don't answer," he whispered. "Whatever it is, don't answer." But I couldn't look away. My thumb hovered over the screen, the urge to respond almost overwhelming. I typed, "No," and hit send. The phone buzzed again, faster this time, the screen flickering with static. A new image appeared, the chair, the room, the shadow. But now, the shadow was standing, its hand reaching out toward the camera, toward me. The lights in the apartment went out. The room was plunged into darkness, the only illumination the cold blue glow of my phone. I heard a sound, a low, guttural whisper, like static given voice. It filled the room, pressing in from all sides. Sam grabbed my arm, his grip fierce. "Stay with me," he said, his voice shaking. "Don't let it in." The whisper grew louder, resolving into words. "You watched. You see. You belong." I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block it out, but the words burrowed into my mind, echoing in the darkness. I felt the air grow heavier, the pressure building until I thought I might burst. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the whisper stopped. The lights flickered back on, the phone screen went dark. I opened my eyes, gasping for air, my body shaking with adrenaline. Sam was staring at me, his face pale. "What happened?" I shook my head, unable to speak. I felt hollow, emptied out, as if something had been taken from me. We sat in silence, the fear lingering in the air like smoke. I knew it wasn't over. I knew the video, the shadow, the chair, they were still with me, waiting for the next moment of weakness, the next time I let my guard down. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the chair, the room, the shadow reaching out for me. When the sun finally rose, I felt no relief. The world outside was gray and cold, the city silent and still. I knew I couldn't keep running. I had to find a way to end this, before it ended me. I spent the next day searching for answers, desperate for anything that might break the cycle. Sam helped, combing through forums and message boards, reaching out to anyone who had ever mentioned the video. Most of the posts were old, abandoned, the users long gone. But one thread caught my eye, a recent comment from someone calling themselves The Witness. The message was simple: "If you've seen the chair, meet me tonight. 3 a.m., old train station. Don't come alone." Sam was skeptical. It could be a trap. Or just some troll messing with you. I knew he was right, but I was out of options. I have to try. I can't keep living like this. He nodded, his jaw set. Then I'm coming with you. We spent the evening preparing, packing flashlights, extra batteries, even a baseball bat, just in case. The hours crawled by, the tension mounting with every tick of the clock. At 2:30, we left the apartment, the city streets empty and slick with rain. The old train station loomed ahead, its windows dark, its platform deserted. We waited in the shadows, our breath fogging in the cold air. At exactly 3 a.m., a figure stepped out from behind a pillar. They wore a hooded jacket, their face hidden in shadow. "You're here," they said, their voice low and urgent. I nodded. "I saw the video. I can't get rid of it. It's everywhere." The witness glanced at Sam, then back at me. "It's not just a video. It's a signal. A call. Once you see it, it sees you. It wants to be remembered." Sam bristled. "What does it want?" The witness hesitated. "Attention. Fear. Memory. It's like a parasite. The more you think about it, the stronger it gets. The only way to weaken it is to forget. To let it fade." I shook my head. "I've tried. It won't let me." The witness reached into their pocket and handed me a small, battered notebook. "Write it down. Every detail. Every fear. Then burn it. Don't look back. Don't talk about it. Don't even think about it. If you do, it might let go." I took the notebook, my hands trembling. What if it doesn't work? The witness's eyes glinted in the darkness. "Then you run. And you never stop." They turned and disappeared into the night, leaving us alone on the platform. Sam and I hurried back to the apartment, the city eerily silent, the rain falling harder. Back inside, I sat at the kitchen table and began to write. I poured everything onto the pages, the video, the chair, the man with the blurred face, the shadow, the messages, the dreams. My hand cramped, my eyes burned, but I didn't stop until every memory, every fear, was on the paper. When I finished, Sam took the notebook and led me to the alley behind the building. We set the pages alight, watching as the flames consumed the words, the memories, the fear. The smoke curled into the night, carried away by the wind. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of release, a lightness in my chest. Sam clapped me on the back, his smile tired but genuine. "Maybe this is it. Maybe it's over." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that I was free. That night, I slept without dreams. The chair, the shadow, the video, they were gone, at least for now. But as I drifted off, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching, waiting for me to remember. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windows, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I woke up feeling almost normal. The heaviness in my chest had lifted, replaced by a cautious hope. Sam was already up, making breakfast, humming to himself like nothing had ever happened. I joined him in the kitchen, and for a while, we talked about ordinary things, work, plans for the weekend, the weather. It felt good, grounding, like I was reclaiming my life one small moment at a time. But as the day wore on, I found myself glancing at my phone, half expecting to see another message, another image of the chair. The screen stayed blank, the wallpaper unchanged. I checked my email, my social media, even the dark corners of the internet where the video had first appeared. Nothing. It was as if the whole thing had been erased, scrubbed clean from every server, every memory except my own. Sam noticed my restlessness. "You're still thinking about it, aren't you?" I nodded. I can't help it. It's like there's a gap in my mind, a place where the fear used to be. I keep waiting for it to come back. He put a hand on my shoulder. You did what you had to do. You let it go. Now you have to let yourself move on. I tried. I really did. I went back to my apartment, cleaned up the mess I'd left behind, opened the curtains, let the light in. I called my parents, made plans to see friends, tried to fill my days with anything that would keep my mind busy. For a while, it worked. The nightmares stopped. The shadows in the corners faded. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I was free. But freedom is a fragile thing. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, I heard a knock at the door. It was soft, almost hesitant, but it sent a jolt of fear through me. I froze, listening, my heart pounding in my chest. The knock came again, a little louder this time. I crept to the door, peering through the peephole. The hallway was empty. I waited, breath held, but no one appeared. I told myself it was just a neighbor, a prank, nothing to worry about. But as I turned away, I caught a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye, a shadow, tall and thin, just for a moment, before it vanished. That night, the dreams returned. I was back in the chair, the room flickering with static, the shadow looming over me. But this time, I wasn't afraid. I looked the shadow in the eyes, and it stepped back, its form wavering, uncertain. I woke up with a start, the fear replaced by a strange sense of power. I realized then that the video, the shadow, the fear, they only had as much power as I gave them. The more I ran, the stronger they became. But if I faced them, if I refused to be afraid, they faded. I started writing again, not in a notebook to be burned, but in a journal I kept by my bed. I wrote about the fear, the dreams, the way the video had changed me. I wrote about Sam, about the witness, about the choice to remember or forget. Each word was a step toward reclaiming my life, a way to turn the nightmare into a story I could control. The days turned into weeks, the weeks into months. The video never came back. The chair, the shadow, the man with the blurred face, they became memories, distant and dull. I moved on, slowly but surely, building a new life on the ashes of the old. But sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet and the shadows are long, I still hear the echo of a voice, calling from the darkness. And I remember the lesson I learned the hard way: some things are better left unseen. I started to rebuild my life, piece by piece, but the experience left a mark I couldn't quite erase. I found myself drawn to stories of the unexplained, the forbidden, the things that lurk in the corners of the internet. I read about other cursed videos, haunted websites, digital ghosts that slipped through the cracks of reality. Most of them sounded like urban legends, the kind of tales you tell to scare yourself on a stormy night. But every so often, I'd find a detail that felt too familiar: a chair in a forgotten room, a shadow that moved on its own, a face that blurred when you tried to remember it. I started writing about what happened to me, posting anonymously on forums and message boards, warning others not to go looking for things they couldn't understand. Some people believed me. Most didn't. A few reached out, sharing their own stories, different details, same fear. It was comforting, in a way, to know I wasn't alone. But it was also terrifying. The thing that haunted me wasn't just mine. It was out there, waiting for someone else to stumble across it. Sam and I stayed close. We didn't talk about the video much, but there was an unspoken understanding between us, a bond forged in fear and survival. He started carrying a small notebook everywhere, jotting down anything strange he noticed, any detail that felt out of place. Just in case, he'd say with a wry smile. I'm not taking any chances. I laughed, but I understood. Once you've seen the edge of the abyss, you never really forget what's out there. One evening, months after it all began, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line was blank. The body of the message was just a single link. My heart skipped a beat. I hovered over the link, my finger trembling, the old fear rising in my chest. But I didn't click. I deleted the email, emptied the trash, and turned off my computer. That night, I dreamed of the chair again. But this time, the room was empty. No shadow, no blurred face, just sunlight streaming through a window I'd never seen before. I sat in the chair, feeling the warmth on my skin, the fear melting away. I woke up smiling, the memory of the dream lingering like a promise. I realized then that the real curse wasn't the video, or the shadow, or the fear. It was the temptation to look, to know, to chase the darkness even when you know it's dangerous. Curiosity is a powerful thing, and sometimes it leads you places you can't come back from. I started to set boundaries for myself, no more late-night internet rabbit holes, no more chasing after forbidden knowledge. I focused on the things that made me feel alive, friends, family, the simple joys of everyday life. I learned to appreciate the ordinary, to find comfort in the familiar. But I never forgot what happened. I never forgot the lesson I learned: some doors are better left closed, some questions better left unasked. The internet is full of mysteries, and not all of them want to be solved. Sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I still feel the urge to search, to see if the video is out there, waiting for someone else to find it. But I resist. I remind myself that I survived, that I have a choice. I turn off the computer, close the curtains, and let the night pass. And if I ever hear a knock at the door, or see a shadow move in the corner of my eye, I remember the chair, the room, the lesson burned into my memory. I remind myself that I am stronger than my fear. The seasons changed, and with them, the sharp edges of my fear softened into something quieter, more manageable. I found myself laughing again, making plans, letting the world in. But the memory of that night, the video, the shadow, the chair, never left me completely. It became a story I carried, a private scar, invisible to everyone but Sam and a handful of strangers on the internet who understood what it meant to be haunted by something you couldn't explain. One afternoon, I met Sam for coffee at our favorite spot, sunlight streaming through the windows, the city alive with the easy rhythm of people who had never seen the things we had. We talked about work, about life, about nothing in particular. But as we were leaving, Sam paused, his hand on my shoulder. "You know," he said, "I still think about it. Not every day, but sometimes. I wonder if it's really over." I nodded. "Me too. But I think we made it out. I think we're okay." He smiled, but there was a shadow in his eyes. "Just promise me one thing. If you ever get another message, another link, don't open it. Call me first. We'll face it together." I promised, and I meant it. I'd learned the hard way that some things are too big to face alone. That night, as I walked home, the city felt different, brighter, safer, as if the world had shifted back into place. I let myself believe, for the first time in a long while, that I was free. But as I turned the key in my apartment door, I felt a chill run down my spine. The room was just as I'd left it, but something felt off. The air was heavy, the silence too deep. I checked my phone, half expecting to see a new message, a new image of the chair. But the screen was blank. I set the phone down, took a deep breath, and tried to shake off the feeling. That night, I dreamed of the chair one last time. But this time, I wasn't alone. Sam was there, standing beside me, his hand on my shoulder. The room was filled with light, the shadows banished to the corners. The chair was just a chair, ordinary, harmless, stripped of its power. I woke up with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in months. The fear was still there, but it was smaller now, something I could live with. I realized that surviving wasn't about forgetting what happened, or pretending it never existed. It was about accepting it, learning from it, and moving forward. I started to write again, not just about the video, but about everything, the fear, the hope, the way the world can change in an instant. I shared my story, not to scare people, but to remind them that they're not alone. That even in the darkest moments, there's a way out. That sometimes, the only way to break a curse is to refuse to let it define you. The internet is still full of mysteries, still full of doors waiting to be opened. But I've learned to be careful, to trust my instincts, to listen to the voice that says, "Not this time." I've learned that some stories are warnings, and that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away. If you're listening to this, if you've ever been tempted to click a forbidden link, to watch a video you know you shouldn't, remember my story. Remember the chair, the shadow, the lesson I learned the hard way. Curiosity is powerful, but so is fear. And sometimes, fear is the thing that keeps you safe. Maybe the strangest part is how ordinary life becomes again, even after you've seen the edge of something you can't explain. I went back to work, met friends for dinner, called my parents on Sundays. I learned to laugh at things that used to scare me, to let the world in again. But every so often, I'd catch myself glancing at a dark screen, half expecting to see that chair, that room, that impossible shadow flickering in the background. It was like a phantom limb, gone, but still there, a part of me I couldn't quite forget. I started to notice how many people are searching for something online, how many are drawn to the forbidden, the mysterious, the things that promise a glimpse behind the curtain. I saw it in the way people whispered about haunted websites, in the endless threads about lost media and digital curses, in the late-night confessions of strangers who'd seen too much. I realized that what happened to me wasn't unique. The internet is full of doors, and every day, someone new is tempted to open one. Sometimes, I'd get messages from people who'd read my story. Some were skeptics, poking holes in every detail, convinced it was just a dream or a clever hoax. Others were believers, sharing their own tales of things that followed them out of the screen and into the real world. A few just wanted reassurance, a voice to tell them they weren't alone. I answered as many as I could, always with the same advice: be careful what you look for. Some things want to be found, and some things want to find you. One night, months after I thought it was over, I got a call from Sam. He sounded tired, but there was a smile in his voice. "You up for a midnight walk?" he asked. No screens, no stories, just the city and the stars. We met outside, the air cool and clear, the city lights reflecting off wet pavement. We walked in silence for a while, just listening to the world breathe. Eventually, Sam spoke. "Do you ever wonder if it's still out there? The video, the shadow, all of it?" I nodded. "Sometimes. But I think it only has power if we let it. If we keep looking for it, keep feeding it with fear." He smiled. "Then let's not give it what it wants." We walked until the sky began to lighten, the city waking up around us. For the first time, I felt like I was really free, not because the fear was gone, but because I'd learned to live with it, to let it be just another part of my story. When I got home, I sat at my desk and opened a blank document. I wrote down everything I remembered, every detail, every feeling, every lesson. I didn't write it to burn or to forget, but to remember, to remind myself that I survived, that I chose to keep going, that I refused to let the darkness win. If you're hearing this, if you're tempted to chase the next mystery, to click the next forbidden link, remember, some stories are warnings. Some doors are meant to stay closed. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is turn away. I still keep my screens covered at night. I still pause before clicking on anything that feels wrong. But I'm not afraid anymore. I know what's out there, and I know I have a choice. So if you ever find yourself staring at a video you're not supposed to watch, if you ever feel the weight of a shadow behind you, if you ever hear a voice calling from the darkness, remember my story. Remember that you're not alone. And remember that you can always choose to walk away. Because regret is a heavy thing. But survival, even with its scars, is a story worth telling.